So welcome everybody. We're going to do the introduction to coding environment for Python, and that's going to be the session 2. And this series is presented by Poojita, myself, Jessica, and Nayan. So I'm Jessica. I'm a senior software engineer, mostly working in the movie industry. And today we're going to talk about text editor. So Poojita introduced text editor IDs as well as a web-based editor, and she diving into web-based editor. The next session will be about IDs, but for this one, we're going to talk about text editor in particular. So what are text editor? Text editor are mostly a program that just edit plain text, meaning you can edit any type of code, be it Python, C++, Rust, JavaScript, whatever you want. And you will always have one with your OS. So you have Vim on Mac OS, as well as some Linux, like Ubuntu and Debian. That's going to be the focus of today. You also have Nano on Mac OS, Linux, and most Unixes. That would be BSD and so on. And on Windows, you are stuck with Notepad, which is unfortunately very bare bone. So my advice would be to, if you're on Windows, to pick something else. What are the pros and cons of using a text editor over an IDE or a web-based editor? So in terms of pros, the biggest one is a text editor doesn't consume a lot of hardware resources, meaning that you can code on pretty much any machine you want, even on your phone, actually, if you want, because you don't really need a lot of RAM, you don't need a lot of CPU to run them. So it's very good if you don't have access to a very beefy machine, or if you actually don't want to use a lot of resource on your machine and prefer to keep them for running, like, let's say you're running a machine learning model or something like that. They are language agnostic. So like I mentioned, you can edit any kind of text file. So you can edit any type of language. They are usually simpler to use, meaning they are a bit better for beginners. You don't have to worry about a lot of things going on. It's just you and a window to type text. On the other side, they also don't hide a lot of things, which is a good and bad thing. It's a bit more work, and you will have to go to some external tools. Like you will have to maybe compile externally and things like that. But it's a good thing as well if you're beginners, because it's not going to hide the inner workings. So you're not going to use an IDE as a crutch. And you're going to have to go and dive into the actual process and workflow. So that's also a good thing when you start up, I found. That's usually give you better foundation. And the last part is sometimes, but not always, they are easily customizable. And Vim is in that category. No, on the cons, like I mentioned, you don't have everything integrated, so you won't have any built-in debugger or profiler. You won't have any intelligent code editing or smart code navigation. It's not an all-in-one package integration, so you will often have to go and run things in another tab in a terminal and things like that. And sometimes it can be harder to work on multiple files at once, depending on your editor, like Notepad++ or Vim without plugins, for example. It might be a bit more tricky to see your whole like repository structure easily. With that said, you can most of the time add some of those functions with plugins. So be it for Atom, Sublime, Vim, Emacs, and so on. So some text editor, there is a lot, but that's a kind of short list. You have Vim and Emacs, which are very old editors, very stable, very, very easily customizable, but they do have a big learning curve. However, once you know them, you can be very, very efficient and fast. You have Notepad++, which is on Windows. That's a rather good one. I use it a lot on Windows for like quick editing of Python files and things like that. It comes with like code highlighting and a lot of like very useful function. You have Sublime, which is a rather good one as well, but that one you have to pay for it. You have Atom, which is Electron-based. That's done by GitHub. So that one, because it's Electron-based, won't be as fast and would actually use some of your RAM as well. You have Notepad, which is the default one on Windows, and you have TextMate, for example, on Mac, which is basically a non-cross-platform text editor, just like Notepad++. So you're going to have some which will be cross-platform, like Vim and Emacs. Some mostly cross-platform, like Atom and Sublime, and some which are only on one platform. Which one to pick? I would say just try a few and see which one you prefer. Talking about that, we're going to actually take one and dive into it a bit. So we're going to look at Vim. So what is Vim? Vim is a highly configurable and extensible text editor, which was created a while ago in 1991, and it's based on V, which was created in 1987. So that's over 30 years ago. It's pre-installed on macOS as well as some Linux. So if you use macOS, Ubuntu, Debian, and so on, you don't even have to install it. It's already there, which comes in very handy if you're in a computer which is not your own and where you can't install anything. If you go on any Mac, like you can open the terminal and you can quickly be in your preferred environment. Vim can be installed on most operating systems. So if you go to vim.org, you can download it. Like for Windows, for example, you will need to download Vim on NeoVim. Vim also supports a very, very large amount of operating system. You can use it on Amiga OS, for example, on BOS, iQOO, and so on. So it's extremely, extremely well supported across a lot of platforms. Vim running command line, which again is very useful if you do any kind of remote in where you don't have any graphical interface or limited amount of graphical capabilities. Everything can be done with a keyboard. So that's something very, very, very good with Vim, mostly for to prevent carpal tunnel syndrome. You don't have to use your mouse to do anything in Vim. There's some plugin and some mod to support your mouse, but everything can be done with a keyboard. So if you have any kind of like concern about ergonomics and so on, like I really encourage you to look into Vim or Emacs actually, which is the other big concurrent. And something I wanted to note is that many IDEs and some text editor have a Vim emulation mode, meaning that if you learn Vim and how it works, you can quickly install Vim support on an IDE like PyCharm or VS Code, and you will have these same shortcuts. So very, very useful if you have to switch between IDEs a lot. Now, how to start Vim? Just have V in a terminal, and it's going to start. So now you can see that you have a certain like interface which did appear. Let me see if I can pause so you can see a bit better. Okay, so you have this interface here. Vim have what's called modes. So there is like, I believe 12 modes right now with Vim 9. But there is only a very subset of mode that you really need to know. I would say there's 3 you need to know, and there's a 4th one, which is a bonus. So you have the normal mode, the insert mode, the common one, as well as the visual. That one is the bonus one. So the normal mode, that's the default mode. So when you tap V, you go into normal mode. The normal mode, you can use it to navigate in your file. And I'm going to explain a bit what that means. And you can perform some operation on the text. You can delete 9 words, you can copy paste and so on. Then you have the insert mode. So that's when you type your actual code. So that's very simple. You go in and you type your code. You then have the common mode, which is very, very useful. You can open save file, you can find replace text, undo redo. You have a very, very useful help, very detailed. And you can do many, many more. You can even create your own command, and I will touch a bit on that later on. Then you have the latest one I wanted to cover, that the visual mode. So with that one, you can create text selections, and you can perform some of the operation that you can do on the normal mode. So you can change the indents of a whole text selection. You can delete it and so on. However, since you can do most of it in normal mode, you don't really need the visual one. There's one case where it's very useful when you do pair programming. I found the visual mode to be very, very nice to show things to other people. So now we're going to go and explain how to navigate in your code, which is the base of the normal mode. And that's where like really Vim is very, very powerful. So like I mentioned, Vim use shortcuts easily. There is a lot of shortcuts and we can't cover all of them because there's so many of them. But we're going to cover a few. So to navigate in your code, you can use some shortcuts to navigate between characters. So you can go back and forth to the next or previous character. You can go to the next word or previous word, as well as going to this end and the start of the word. You can go to the next or previous line, and you can go to the start or the end of the line. And something very, very interesting with Vim is that you can combine those together. So you can say, I want to go to the next 3 words or the next 5 lines. And I'm going to show you that right now. So I'm going to show you a few examples and explain them as well. So for Vim, as you can see, you can open Vim just by itself, work on a new file, or you can put a file path and open an existing file, which is what we're going to do right now. So my Vim look a bit different than the default, and I'm going to go over that at the end. You can really tweak it, and that's part of the tricks you can do. But for example, if I want to go to the next 5 line, I can do 5J, sorry. And you can see I jump to the, I jump 5 line down. So I can do the same, I can do 10J. Then I can do 3W, so that's 3 word. And I can do again, you can see in jump from 1 to 3. So that's very, very useful. And very quick. You can quickly jump back and forth to the next word. So you can do W like that and jump word to word. Or you can do like that with E and B. So you can jump to the start or the end of the word. Very, very useful as well. Then you have a few more shortcuts. Well, I mean, you have a lot more shortcuts, but some of them which can be useful is the capital G shortcut. So you give a line number, and you do capital G and you jump to the line number. That's very, very good. If you debug an issue, you can jump to that to the line with the issue. You can also say, you know what, I want to go halfway through my code, because you know that the code you want to edit is like halfway through your code. So you can go 50%. And something interesting, you can use 0 and the $sign to go to the start or end of your line. Same, very, very interesting as well. And another thing you can do, if you're the star, you can go to the next instance of the word under cursor. So if we have else, we do that, is going to jump to the next one, like that. So very, very useful if you want to. And you can see you can also use 0 if you prefer to do that, but that's kind of painful. But if you want, for example, to find every occurrence of this constant, you can just do that, and you can jump very quickly where it's being used. So that's kind of like how you navigate in your code. Basically, you just combine the motion that you can see here and how many of it you want to do. So like 5J, I mean, go 5 line down. If you do 5K, go 5 line up, and so on. And once you know about that, you can quickly go through your code very, very, very quickly and edit the part that you want. You can see I also mentioned the code block. So that's another interesting one. You can use the shortcuts to jump between code blocks. Sorry. Oh yeah, here you can find it here. I configure my code block a bit differently. But that's the default basically. So I mean, like you're going to go to the next class, to the next function, and so on. And you can configure it a bit to go like to go to the next loop. It's kind of like it's very, very wide, and you can configure Vim to work how you prefer. Now you can operate on your code. So instead in normal mode, you can do operation, and there's a bunch of them. But we're going to like see a few examples, which is to delete a line or yank. So yank is the Vim word for copy, and then you can paste. And the way it's working, same again, you can combine things together. So that's where Vim is very, very powerful, is that you only need to know a few shortcuts, like usually like a letter or two, and you can quickly combine things together. So the way it's working when you want to operate on your code is you have the operator, which is what you want to do. So you may want to delete. Optionally, you can repeat the motion multiple times, and then you have your motion. So to move over which text to operate on. And you can repeat the last command with dot. So I've put a few examples here. So if I want to, for example, delete the next reward, I can do D3W and remove them, and I can use the dot to do that again. And something also interesting, like you can use CE to do an operation where you're going to delete the word and go to insert, which is the mode that you go to type text. So you can just type text like that. Which brings me to the next slide, which is the insert mode and how to type text. So I use the default shortcuts for it. but you can actually you can enter in insert mode through various like spots in your code. So you can insert it after the cursor. So the cursor is not your mouse cursor. It's this step here is where you are in your code. So you can see it here that represents the cursor value. So it's like this line and this character in your code. So if I do that and I press A, I go up. I was already in insert mode. If I press A, I go to insert after that that character like that. So after the cursor, and I can also do it at the start of a line. So if I do capital I go to the start of a line. Very easy, for example, to change your if to an elif. You can do it at the end of a line. You can insert on the line below and the line above. And if you want, in the insert mode, you can also delete a word with Ctrl W. So same, there's some shortcuts which actually are going to work in multiple modes. So you can like memorize a few and know under which mode they work. So before we jump to that one, actually, if you're in insert mode and you want to go back to the normal mode, so every time you want to go back to the normal mode, you just press the escape key. And you're going to go back to the normal mode like that. So I can press E, you can see I'm in insert, and then escape to go back. V, I'm in visual, and escape, I can go back. So something where Vim really shine as well on top of the shortcut is that you can run a lot of commands. So there is a command mode, which you call from the normal mode. To enter it, you press a colon, then the command you want to run. So there's a few for output here, for example. So if you want to show the line number, you can do set new. If you want to save your file, you can do WQ. So write and exit. Oh yeah, that made a mistake. So sorry for the typo. So if you do save and exit, for example, you can combine the W, which is write, save, and Q, which is exit. So you can combine actually multiple commands together to have like a super command, for example. If you want to edit a file, you can quickly open a file with like the E command. So E followed by the name of the script. And some plugins that you install also have their own command. So I'm going to show you this one called nerd3. And another command which is very interesting is to do search replace, like find and replace. So for example, if you do a search replace, so you do S, meaning that you're going to substitute, and you tell it what you're going to substitute. So let's do true and by false. And you can also ask to have a confirmation. So if you type C, it's going to show every instance where you want to search and replace, and you can confirm for each one of them. You don't have to do it, but that's something you could do. So C is another option in the command that you can do. You can force and so on. So, and the other one that you can do is, for example, nerd3, which is like a plugin that show you basically a tree to navigate in your file. So that's very interesting, and that kind of like show very quickly how you can extend Vim with plugins to do things that don't come by default. Another command that is very useful is to search text. So you can search forward or backward with a backward slash to search forward, and the question mark for backward. And you can then press the N key to go to the next match and the capital N to the previous one. So you can quickly go back and forth between your matches. Let me just reopen. So you can do, so let's say we can jump 10 line and we're going to search for every import. So you do that, you search for that word, and then you can use N to find all your imports in capital N. So you can see like that. You can quickly go jump back and forth. The search by default is case sensitive. And there is a command to basically make it case sensitive or not, which is set, which kind of like mean like you are going to set the option. And you can also make it non-case sensitive. A good one I like to use is the set smart case. That one is very interesting. If you put a capital inside the search characters, letters, it's going to know that you want to do, you know that you want to match the case. If you don't, it's not going to match the case. So that's something that you can look into as well. Vim have a lot of options, like I mentioned. So I really encourage you to kind of like, if that's something that would look interesting for you, to kind of explore what would work best for you. Now the last mode I want to talk about is again the visual mode. So to go into visual mode, you can just press V. So you can see we enter into visual mode, and then you can use any emotion that you want. So you can use 3W, for example, you say these next 3 words. You can do 5J, and you're going to say 539, and you can see kind of highlight things. Then you can just remove, for example. So some subset of command of operators basically would work. So you have yank, delete, and copy, as well as paste, which will work. And you have the substitute command, which will work under visual mode. But since you can do everything in normal mode, like you don't really need to go into visual unless you really want to do big selections. Now that we quickly saw Vim, I wanted to talk about configuring Vim briefly. So as you can see, there's a lot of shortcuts. There's a lot of options, and you can set them in your .vimrc file. So that will be placed in your home directory. And you can set some rules. So something I like to do for Python, I like to set the encoding to UTF-8. I like to replace the tabs. So if I press tab, I like to replace that by spaces. And I like to replace them by 4 spaces. I also like to have auto indentation turn on. And I also like to change the folding method. So Vim is kind of like a bit smart for that. And you can fold your code, and you can tell how to fold. So it's based on indent for Python. You also have some additional configurations. So you saw some of the commands which were like set IC and so on, or set no. You can set them in your file. So meaning that whenever you're going to start Vim, it's going to have those options on by default. So I like to have a confirmation dialog if I change any, if I save my file. So I'd use this set confirm. I like to display the cursor position as well to know on which line and which character I'm on. So I'd use set ruler. I really love to display line numbers. So I'd use the set no or set numbers. They're the same. Set no is the shortcut of the shortcut. And something you can also do, which is very, very interesting, you can map shortcuts. So you can remap shortcuts. So you can say, you know what, I just don't like to use escape, and I'd rather use like maybe my space bar to go back to normal mode. You can use the map to do it. So Vim RC basically it's its own little language. So it's a Vim script, and you can do a lot. And you can see here, you can even actually map shortcuts to external command. So I map the F2 command. So if I press F2, it's going to display the current time on my machine here. So you can basically also, in theory, if you want, create a shortcut which is going to create a bunch of operations for you. Like if you often do some the same action, you can create your own command as well. You can create your own plugins and so on. And you can also create your own shortcuts for it. Maybe you want to like, maybe you have like a build process which take multiple steps. You may want to map that to one of the function key. So you can basically, let's say you have to go into a specific directory and run a specific command and do a few other operation. You can map that to one command. Now I mentioned plugins. Vim have a lot of plugins, like really a lot. I mean, as you can imagine, there's 30 years of history of plugins. To install plugins, manage them, I like to use Vim plug. There's multiple things you can do it yourself in your Vim RC, and there's multiple plugin manager. But I kind of like Vim plug. It's pretty straightforward. And basically you put all the plugins that you want like that. So that corresponds to GitHub repos. And it's going to download them, build them automatically. You can even, you have options to load them dynamically based on some actions. So I'm going to go over a few of the plugins that I like when it comes to Python. I like Nerd3, which I just show, which basically show you your directory. So you can open save file like that. You have polyglots, which I like for to add colors basically to your code. I like Python pep 8 indents. That's basically going to force Vim to obey pep 8 when you write Python code. You have some smart Python things with Python sense. And the other one are a bit more for to basically navigate in your code. So like Vim can be a bit smarter about your code and know, oh, it's Python code, and I know how to handle folding and things like that. I know that what a class is, I know what a method is, and so on. And like I promise, you can also play golf. So if you found Vim interesting, you can go to Vim Golf, and basically it's more challenge on how to do some operation with the least amount of shortcuts. So our little operation, our little you can type on your keyboard to do something with Vim. That was a very fun one to play with. Now that we look at Vim, I also want to touch briefly on two other text editors that I mentioned. One is Atom, and the other one is Sublime Text. So you can download Atom on atom.io. It's an open source and free text editor. And let me open it actually on my machine so you can see it a bit better. So Atom was developed by GitHub and it's working on Electron. And actually that was the software used to develop Electron, if I remember well. So that one is interesting because it's a bit more advanced than, it's a bit closer to VS Code, for example, where you have a concept of package, sorry, a concept of projects. You have integration with Git and GitHub as well, since it was done by GitHub. You can install some packages which are extension in VS Code, and you have some different theme and things like that. And you can see I install, did not configure them, some of the package to support Python. So to have color coding for Python, and also the ability to collapse things like that. So it's pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of package as well, just like VS Code. Yeah, so that was a quick intro, and you have a few shortcuts, which same, it's like the usual thing. You can select a line, go to the end of a word. And in terms of package, you can see every installed package that you have here, and you can pick one that's you can always show things a bit here. Oh yeah, there's no outline from my code, but you can see like here you can see all the key binding that's there is, and you have all the package here. So same, you can manage your things. You can install other one. And for Python, let me see the one I have installed. Yeah, I do like Python tools. That kind of like bring everything you need for Python. I like the Atom Python run as well. So that's interesting. With that one, you can run your Python code directly from Atom. So that's when we go a bit more into like edit a text editor or edit an IDE territory. But you can kind of like, just like Vim, where Vim have a lot of plugins to like run Python, even integrate a debugger in Vim for Python and integrate GitHub and so on. You can extend your text editor to be very much like an IDE. And last, we have Sublime Text. So that one, unfortunately, is a paid one, and it's a yearly subscription. Though a lot of people like it. And it's rather fast. There's something I like about Sublime, like it's very, very fast. You can open some very large file and work rather well with it. And you have you can hook it up to your build system, for example, like that. And something very interesting that also Vim have, it's a macro system. So you can create your own macro and you can record them. I didn't mention it, but we have it as well with the Q shortcut. So you can like basically press Q, and same with Sublime, do your operation and save that as a macro. That's very, very interesting once you reach a certain level to really speed up your workflow and save you a lot of time. And you don't have to think too much about a lot of operation, and you can concentrate on your code. And you have the usual shortcuts and so on. Yeah, so, and you can see, yeah, same, you can fold everything, and Sublime is rather smart about it as well. But same, you don't have a debugger integrated and so on. So it's a good alternative, like if you don't mind paying for it, so rather good text editor as well, if you prefer to have an interface. And we're done for the text editor introduction. The next session and the last one will be on April 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to touch on IDEs. So that would be PyCharm, VS Code, and Eclipse, and so on. And that will be presented by Nayan. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. So you can type in the chat, or you can type them in the Q&A tab that you have on Zoom.
Jessica, it was a really nice talk. I really enjoyed it. I think all of our attendees also enjoyed it. Like it was like super, super informative, and all the shortcuts, like they are extremely important while coding. So I think that was the most important part of the talk, and it was like awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And so I've kept a track of chat, and I think there are no such questions as of
There
such.
was one that answer, which was W. Yeah, W stands for write and Q stands for quit. And you can combine those two comments together to say write then quit. And you can even do like write quit and then open another file on just one line if you want.
Okay, thank you so much. And let us know. We'll wait for a couple of minutes here for you to ask questions if there are any. So let us know in the chat.
And if you don't have any question right now, that's okay. It's normal. You need to digest. Feel free to reach out to us with any of your questions, and we can reply to you later on.
Yeah, so join our Slack channel. So there you'll get access to all the speakers, like Jessica, me, and all the other amazing speakers of our community.
Yeah, actually,
Also,
we do have
a
question.
Yeah,
I'll popularize Vim now. So Vim, right now, the latest thing I saw on Stack Overflow was Vim is ranked the 5th most used editor in the world. It used to be the 3rd, it used to be the 1st or 2nd, depending if you have somebody who uses Vim or Emacs. But it's still a very, very popular editor, and I still see a lot of people at work who use Vim. And personally, while I do use VS Code mostly on a daily basis, I do use Vim a fair bit when I want to do a quick edit, when I'm working like on a remote machine and things like that, or like when I don't want to use my mouse as well. Like I mentioned, if you want to prevent repetitive stress injury, sometimes when I work a lot, I like to switch to Vim or enable Vim mode in VS Code and just use those shortcuts a lot.
Yeah, that's great. So I think that answered the question.
I think we're done with question. So yeah, if you want to stay connected, you can go to our social media, mostly Slack. We are also going to put those slides very shortly in the coming days to Women Who Code GitHub accounts. So if you want to go back and see those examples, and I will also put the vim.rc file as well. So you can go and go back to it and try it on your own as well.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed the session. Do come again for our next session. So that would be our last session for the series. And that's again going to be an amazing session by Neon. And yeah, so thank you so much. Do join our Slack channel. So all the updates regarding all of our new events are present there, and you can directly contact any of our community members and become a community member as well. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Jessica, for an amazing session.